Good evening, everybody. First of all, I'd like to thank you. Being a Brazilian, first of all, thank you for the rice and beans. God bless your rice and beans. Tiffany and also our moderator had explained a little bit what is my mission here, why I am here. So it's basically to hear you and to hear you on the issue of housing. I know that throughout the country, and I have been repeating that, we are living in a housing crisis. Of course, that specifically here in the Gulf Coast, the housing crisis adds to a different issue, which is the recovery from Katrina, the recovery from the storm, from the disaster. We should not see disasters as natural. Of course, rains can come, floods can come, but the amount of damage and who receives the damage, who gets damage, and who can recover or who cannot depends basically on the pre-existing conditions of each particular site, each particular community. And housing is not just a shelter, just a roof. Housing, and you call home, is much more than that.
And what would you do? What would you tell the government to do? What would you tell the United Nations representatives they need to do to resolve this problem, to help?
First, I would like to say that HUD and Handle need to start working with the residents. You know, they need more, hands-on with the residents, because there are a lot of questions, but the residents have a lot of answers to those questions. Handle and HUD is making it hard for, single parents like myself to choose, to feed my children a clothing, to whereas they have people that's living on a fixed income and they have a tenant portion to pay that's not being properly, calculated. And come along with that, people have water bill, utility bill, some people have a trash collection bill. And once they pay it all that, they don't even have money, to buy household needs or medication.
First of all, HUD wants to get out of the housing business. But the way they're trying to get out of the housing business is to give the housing stock to their friends and their colleagues, instead of allowing the people who have allowed them to make their profit through the years the opportunity for home ownership by letting the residents have non-traditional home ownership opportunities. That way they can rid themselves of the burden of having to house so many people.
Everybody does need the opportunity to have equal housing, affordable housing, like I said, because they might have some individuals in here that was former residents or still current residents, like in Iberville. I'm not saying that the projects was good, but at the same time, like each individual said, it's that sense of community. That's what the housing projects provided, a sense of community. And now they're developing programs like Hope 6. I always tell people, it's the hope in the Hope 6. There's no guarantee that say that mixed income developments are going to succeed. I want them to, but there's no defined definition that really is saying that it's going to happen or whatever. So I just want the UN Special Rapporteur to take back to Congress or whatever housing individuals that you speak with, that you're going to see the same problem that not only persists in New Orleans, it's going to persist in every city.
One of the things that I've noticed in looking at the 300 or 400 households that we've assisted is that the vast majority of them are spending 60, 70, 80% of their incomes for housing. There was a recent study done by the Census Bureau where they took 8 cities in the United States, and one of them was New Orleans, and they found that 41% of the entire population was spending over 50% of their income for housing. 50%, people that I've come across would be happy with 50%, because they're doing 70, 80, 90%. Public housing is the really only affordable housing for very low-income people, because it's the only one that actually cuts it off at 30% of what your housing costs are. There's a new little model that's coming out that some of you have probably come across called tax credit housing, which gets this lovely name of affordable housing. It's BS. It's not affordable. There ought to be some truth in advertising. You shouldn't be allowed to call something affordable that still costs 80% of your income.
Right now, when you qualify or trying to qualify for subsidized housing, if you say you're going to school full-time, they disqualify you. If you're already in subsidized housing and you're the head of household without an income and you want to go to school, like college full-time or any trade school full-time, they disqualify you. I think that's sad. They want to keep people poor by not allowing them to enhance their lives with education.
So, first of all, thank you all. Thank you so much for your testimonies, your reflections, your proposals, your recommendations, and your analysis of the situation, which were very, very fruitful for me to get a picture, to help to get a picture of what's going on in this country. I believe from what I have seen already, that here is not that much different than it is in other places in the country, specifically on housing. And if you take the approach that have been taken on housing and housing issues, and the relationship between housing and poverty, the strategy and the policy which is in place is structured by two concepts. One is real estate profit, and the second one is militarization and criminalization of poverty. Somebody asked me, how can the UN do about that? So I'm gonna reply, UN can do nothing. UN can do nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. The only ones that can do something about are you. You are the only ones. You are the only ones that live here. You are the only ones that vote. You are the only ones that organize, that mobilize, that fight against, that resist, that have hope. So you are the only ones that can really. My presence here is a presence to tell you that you should not give up, that you stay up and you keep on shooting, so we can also echo your voices, and perhaps by doing that we can help you. So thank you very much for coming.